team. My name is Irvin Washington, and standing next to me is a member of parliament from Guyana, and I will allow her to introduce herself to you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
First of all, thank you all for being here. My name is Joretta Fernandez. I'm a member of parliament, and that's all I'm going to say for now. That's all that's important at the moment. We look forward to having an extremely productive discourse this evening. I know that all of you came here and you're here to hear your views, and we have some very strategic presentations lined up for you this afternoon. So thank you all for being here. I'll hand you back over to Mr. Washington.
Thank you, Joretta. Folks, it has been a long weekend, to say the least. I know everyone is almost tired, not as tired as we are, but we're here for a particular cause. Before we get into the meat of the program, I'm going to ask you all to stand, except those of you who cannot, and let's repeat our national pledge. I pledge myself to honor always the flag of Guyana and to be loyal to my country, to be obedient to the laws of Guyana, to love my fellow citizens, and to dedicate my energies towards the happiness and prosperity of Guyana. Thank you very much. This meeting is now called to order, and we're going to go immediately into our presentations. We ask that in your questions, you be respectful. Let's respect the effort that these folks are making to inform us on what's going on in our country. And as you do that, just remember the last line of the pledge. And that's going to tell us how to behave. So thank you very much for coming, and Joretta is now going to introduce our first presentation.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to welcome to the podium our first presentation by the Honorable Danish Paul, Member of Parliament and Acting Chief Whip of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Ms. Joretta Fernandez and Mr. Washington, sessional chairpersons. Protocol will dictate that I acknowledge the presence of my colleague members of Parliament, and I would like to especially acknowledge Ms. Amanza Walton Desir, if she can stand and just give her a wave. Ms. Maureen Philadelphia. I must tell you that Ms. Amanza Walton Desir has special responsibilities for foreign affairs, and Ms. Maureen Philadelphia has responsibilities for the oil and gas sector. Allow me to also recognize Mr. Vince Roy Jordan, and he has responsibilities for the water sector, housing and water. I don't believe I am missing any other member of Parliament. Mr. Sherrod Duncan, the Let's Fight man. How could I have missed him? Mr. Sherrod Duncan, everybody knows Sherrod Duncan in the ring. Let's Fight, one of the programs that is making a lot of people nervous. And I believe I also need to say to you that Ms. Joretta Fernandez has responsibilities in the economic sector or the finance sector. I would like to also specially recognize the regional chairman of Region Number 4, Mr. Daniel Siram, the Honorable Mayor of the City of Georgetown, and the the Regional Vice Chairperson of Region Number 7, Ms. Kamal Prashad. And of course, the Central Executive Member of the People's National Congress Reform, Mr. Aubrey Norton, and Ms. Jennifer Ms. Dawn Stewart, somewhere around in us of our earlier. Comrades, thank you very much for being present here today so that we can have an informed discourse as it relates to the APNU AFC, the coalition that was cheated out of office. We were not defeated. And I can tell you that comfortably because I played a major role in the national recount, the first ever that we had in Georgetown at the Arthur Chung Conference Center. My friend Juretta, Danielle, Amanza, Aubrey, and many others were there and they saw what happened. I believe it is necessary for me to remind you that the recount was birthed out of a process that is documented and called Order 60 of 2020. And Order 60 of 2020 had 4 stages. And it was our expectation that a final credible count is what we would have come out with after that recount. Unfortunately, we did not. There were 49 ballot boxes that had no statutory documentation to verify the votes that were found in the ballot boxes. There were missing oaths of identity, unsigned oaths of identity. There were missing poll books. There were a lot of anomalies, abnormalities, and irregularities. In my humble view, that was systemic fraud. Many Guyanese hold to that view also. It was systemic fraud. And to know that a result still came out from that flawed process, from that fraud, really hurt Guyanese, hurt me, because I thought that I was living in a country that was evolving and metamorphosing into a process of embracing democracy at a higher level. But in my view, this election took us way, way down. It's very unfortunate. But the reality is that the government for the people, elected by the people and supported by the people, must take its rightful place. And we can only take our rightful place not only by pointing out what happened in the past, but strategizing and holding to a system where we can regain the trust of the voting population. A lot has happened of trying to set a different way to facilitate their rigging. And we're going to come to that and build on it from the race perspective, because racism is real in Guyana. Racism is real in Guyana. When you look at how they would have dismissed public servants from the Guyana Water Incorporated, look at the type of people, the color of the people that were dismissed. If you had a couple that looked like me, it is because they were not supportive of them. Look at how they dismissed people from the public service. If you had a couple that looked like me or a couple that looked like Jureta, it is because they were not supportive of the PPP. Look at how they treated land distribution. And they said that they will take back lands that were given out by the coalition. But when they took office, they targeted a specific type of people. So when we say racism is real in Guyana, it is real in Guyana. And this level of distraction politics that they are playing is for the gullible. This type of distraction politics that they are playing, it is for the uneducated. It is for the people that they have suppressed for years, and they expect that same rhetoric to continue. But the advent of technology will destroy them. Because people get information easier now, and people have that sense and appreciation through education to inform themselves better. But it calls for more than that. Comrades, if there is one thing we must leave this room knowing, it is the coalition, the APNU-AFC, stood and continue to stand for national unity. They continue to stand for togetherness, love, harmony. And they have displayed that during their 5 years in office. Thank you. The coalition did not discriminate against Black communities and Indian communities. I say that with confidence. I live in region number 3, a predominant PPP region. Wakenham, where the coalition got 300 votes and the PPP got 2,000 votes, received under the coalition 100% asphalted concrete road around the entire island, something they did not have for 23 years. They received water, light, and economic activities. Sea defense, billions of dollars. Leg 1, the same thing. Mora Perica, the same thing. And we did not say no to our comrades. We gave Denamstel road, light, and water too. We gave Parfait Harmony road, light, and water too. But we were a government that spoke well and did well. We didn't say one thing and do the other. Because we could have very well said, we stand for oneness and then do something else like what they're doing. They talk about oneness. That is their theme. Oneness, one Guyana. But are we seeing one Guyana? When they were distributing the 25,000 COVID cash grant, communities like Lenora, Wakenham, all the people had to do was take their ID card. I know in Wakenham, a place called Mariah, near Zor, Free and Easy, there's a big mango tree where the distributors were sitting and people who are going to them with their ID cards. And all they do is sign and collect. I know of families there that collected more than one envelopes. But you see, when they go to places like Den Amstel, Good Fortune, Roadside, Stanley Town, Good Intent, they got to see the people in the house. They got to see the kitchen. They got to see the bathroom. They got to see the bedroom. They got to verify that the upstairs is different from the downstairs. Is that not racism? Is that not racism? So when we come here and talk to you about racism and they put out that it doesn't exist, it is them saying one thing and doing the other. They are good for that. Say one thing and do the other. You have a minister of government, Suzanne Rodriguez, that posted on social media that because an Afro-Guyanese received a house lot, which is our entitlement as for the Constitution, that she should not exercise her franchise to go and protest. When I protest, I don't protest for myself, I protest for you and for my children too. Protesting has nothing to do with you as an individual alone. I want a better Guyana for my children. And you want a better Guyana for your families. So you may be living in the United States with your millions, your nice green money, and you may say that, you know what, you're comfortable here. The PPP expects you to be silent because you are not bothered directly. But indirectly you are bothered because your people are hurting. And you play that critical and important role of minding the business of Guyanese. Where you come from, your heart and soul are still there. And we thank you for that. We encourage you to continue to mind our business. We encourage you to continue supporting us back home. We thank you for ensuring that you don't lose touch of where you come from. And you must know the truth. You must know the truth. Perhaps the APNU and AFC, what they did in 2015 was remarkable. It was simply remarkable. A country that has been divided for years on race, where one set of people in the majority would support one political party, and another set in the majority would support another political party. And then you had the AFC, that in my view was the one that attracted from both sides. They came together, the APNU and AFC. And they displayed, in my view, what you call mature politics of coming together for the better of Guyana. And we cannot afford to lose the coalition. I said we cannot afford to lose the coalition. And we have to do what is necessary to keep the coalition. And we have to also be mindful that the PPP is afraid of the coalition. And because they are afraid of the coalition, they will try to infiltrate the coalition. They will try to put their people to create havoc and create problems in the coalition. And they have been trying to. They are more concerned about what is happening in the coalition than what is happening in their camp. And they believe that destroying the coalition will cause them to succeed. And I am saying to you that because the People's Progressive Party has the media, the propaganda machines on their side, you must be mindful of the information you absorb in your heads. You must always seek out the truth and don't fall prey to the propaganda, because their intention is to destroy, and we cannot afford to have them succeed in that. We must ask ourselves, what is it that the coalition did wrong so that we can correct those missteps and we can correct those errors, and going forward, we must be able to not repeat them. And that is why, with the young cohorts of members of parliament and the work that we have been doing, I am extremely proud of these young people. Now, I am young also. I really took a haircut, but I didn't expect the hair to go back so quickly. And I can tell you that the members of parliament are energetic, vibrant, and good debaters. And you can see that in their presentations. No young person from the People's Progressive Party in the National Assembly has not taken the podium as yet to debate us. None. All the motions and bills that are tabled in the National Assembly is the old ones from the PPP side that comes forward. Bill Teixeira, Anil Nandalal, Ashley Singh, Bishop Edgil, the good pastor, Priya Manikchand, Frank Anthony, Rosenberg is in last world. But those are the people that they put all their energy towards to create us. And they're seasoned parliamentarians, they're seasoned politicians. And we, on the coalition side, we have our leader, the Honorable Joseph Harman, but have you ever seen him take the podium to present on these motions or bills? Because he said, you know what, I have a group of young people that I'm proud of, and let them take the horse and run with it. We have Kemraj Ramjatan, who provides excellent guidance, and he gives us the little meandering in terms of parliamentary language and so on. Sometimes we that confront them, and say, sorry, Mr. Speaker.
Wicked speaker.
And then we also have Raphael Trotman. He is a wealth of knowledge. But behind the scenes, in terms of research and parliamentary language and so on, I cannot help but recognize Aubrey Norton too. Many of the people from the diaspora that I've met said to me that Ganesh, your budget presentation was good, the second one. I write, send to Aubrey, he edits, send it back, and edit, send back, edits, those things happen. The Walter Rodney motion that we debated, information was given to us also. So you may see us in the front, and you may see us performing, but there are a lot of people who are behind the scenes that we depend on. And also there are a number of MPs who are behind the scenes with research. Sometimes members of the diaspora would send me messages And they will say, why am I not seeing that one? Why am I not seeing that one? Why am I only seeing you? Why am I only seeing Juretta? Why am I only seeing Sharon? But we get our information from those very ones that you don't see also, you know. Comrades, the strategy requires us understanding each other's strength, recognizing the opportunities that can come from those strengths, also acknowledging our weaknesses and the threats that they can present. And if I can do something that Amanza cannot do, I will do it for her. And similarly, if she can do something that I cannot do, she will do it for me. That is the difference with this young set of members of parliament. We communicate more, we collaborate more, we are more cohesive. And we recognize that with teamwork, we can pull down the largest monster there is. You all are from Guyana, and you were there sometime or the other. So I oftentimes tell people that when you look at a pointer broom, you know what's the pointer broom? All right, I'm from the country too. I tell people when you look at that pointer broom and you separate those pointers, you can break them one by one. If you have that broom collective, try breaking it down. Try breaking it, you cannot. And I assure you, as the chief whip acting of the APNU AFC members of parliament, we will not break. We will not break. We will not separate ourselves from each other because we understand each other as young people. We communicate with each other. We are simply different. We are simply different. We believe in each other and we embrace each other. And I must tell you also that we meet very frequently. We meet very frequently and we talk. As you would say, we caucus and we discuss. So my comrades, we are different. None of us, and this is a very important point to note, none of us who are sitting in the parliament as first-timers, none of us ever wielded power during 2015 to 2020. We did not have that opportunity to say X must go or Y must go. We are simply a new set of leaders emerging from the coalition, and we are, in my view, the cream of the crop. And we are depending heavily on the support of our brothers and sisters who were there and who did a fantastic job there, and their guidance will lead us in the right direction. So I want you to know that none of us will ever stray or refuse to accept guidance from our seniors. They are very valuable to us. They are very valuable to us. And we applaud all of them. All of them we applaud. We have to move on. It has been 1 year and a couple of days since this installed regime took office. And it is as though they started off like a raving horse. But I've learned that fancy gallop don't win race. And I've also learned that easy lesson good for dance. So don't be discouraged or don't be angry with yourself nor with us. Because what happened in elections 2020 was beyond us. When an ambassador of a country, a foreign country, could say that this election is bigger than Guyana, know that it was bigger than us. We tried, we fight, we fought. Maybe we didn't fight enough, but we fought. But there was simply an agenda to remove the government that was heading in a direction for all Guyanese. And there were people and external forces that had their interests, and they considered that more important than the interests of all Guyanese. And they did what they had to do to remove the democratic coalition which stood for all Guyanese, whether you're from the Christian, Hindu, Muslim, black, blue, brown, red, yellow, we stood for all. But because we stood for all and we were spending the resources equitably, some people believe that they must get it more than some. But the people's power is what is important for the next election. The people's power. And we must not be discouraged. External forces will try to discourage us again because they're getting what they really paid for. In 2020, what they paid for, they're getting. And they will want to continue to get. But the people's power must speak and speak loudly. We must speak louder than what we spoke in 2015. Louder we must speak. So there is a role for every one of you. There is a role for every one of you. Not just me, not just Amanza, Obraj, Danielle, Kamal, Aubrey, Jenny, Juretta, not just us. There is a role for every one of you. And that requires you to not be selfish, but be selfless. That requires you to understand that if you see the issue or see the problem, you don't go and create a faction and multiply the problem for it to become a monster in our faces. It requires you confronting the problem with the leaders that be and fixing the problem. But I will not fall short from saying to you that it requires us as leaders too to understand the difference between selfish and selfless. And every one of us must ask ourselves, why are we in politics? Why are we participating in this process? And we must ask ourselves if it is for our country or if it is for ourselves. So it goes both ways, my friends. It goes both ways. And what I want to leave this stage with, and hopefully you agree with me, is that none of us can do it alone. We must do it together. We must do it with each other, for each other, and stand by each other. Thank you very much. Thank you.
vanish. Folks, we have two more presenters, and in between each presenter, we're going to open up the microphone for questions. Raymond, one of our members of the Guyanese Organizations Against Racism, will come around with the microphone and field your questions. Would you like to answer the question? Did you get it or take it back?
You were the chairperson, but I think like.
In the interest of time, we're going to ask you to keep your questions short and succinct so we can get them answered accordingly. So we're now going to open the microphones for questions. And please do so by raising your hand. Raymond will indicate who that person is. We have the gentleman with the brown hat, then the gentleman in the back in the blue shirt.
Just for the guidance in the questions, I would just like everyone to pay keen attention to the questions that are being asked so that we wouldn't have the same type of question repeated itself. We want to give everyone an opportunity to ask their question. So go ahead, sir. When you're speaking, just before you ask your question, just kindly introduce yourself, state your name, and ask your question. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Edwards. I first would like to thank Bert and his organization and the coalition putting this all together and bringing us here together to move in one direction. I particularly would like to thank Bert and his organization to speak to the congressmen and other fellow congressmen to remove Sarah Ann Lynch. But I feel that with the help of the coalition, we can move it a step further. I feel that we can go to the Secretary of State and issue a warning to the Guyanese government with sanctions that if they don't allow Order 99 and 88 to be heard, that there should be sanctions against them. Because I believe that that is the Achilles heel of the current government, the PPP. We need to understand what happened during the election, what caused them to win, and how it came about. Because we had Pompeo come and threaten Guyana. So it's apt that, I believe that the current Secretary of State should do the same in order for this regime to be reversed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I see that Dennis is writing his answers. So we're going to take the next question from the gentleman in the back of the blue shirt. And just a reminder, I know that everyone has got statements and comments they want to make. I'm asking you to keep your questions so we wouldn't have them run out. Thank you very much.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jason Benjamin, President Interim, University of Guyana Alumni Association. With reference to your presentation, you mentioned about the whole idea of cohesiveness and the greater unity that is being emulated by the young parliamentarians who I recognize of impeccable diction, especially when they're presenting. How can you, or how can that group emulate same to the seniors? Because at times, listening to Comrade Joe Harmon, at times it appears to be a disconnect with the engine, which are you, the team, as well as to the seniors. So how can we get that same message moving up and down throughout the body? Thank you.
Thank you. That was question number 2. The gentleman in the black shirt.
Comrade, my name is Thomas Saunders. I'm the chairman for the New York #1 group.
What group?
The New York #1 group. PNC, of course. I was in Guyana for a year prior and during the election period. And I used to be one of the campaign managers for Blueberry Hill campaign office. I used to write a lot, and I always said that the coalition will never throw its members under the bus. 3 weeks before the election, I think that the coalition had a fan out all over the country. And the talk was only valid votes count. Coral Harman came to Linden. We got many people out. The school was full. And he said only valid votes count. Van West Charles spoke 3 days before the election. He was interviewed by you, I think, or by one of those, and he said only valid votes count. The day when the election results were, when they were going to choose the president, there were a lot of young people chanting outside, only valid votes count. And then, you see, and then after Comrade Van West Charles said that, I wrote, because I have a lot of followers in Facebook, at least I don't write on Facebook anymore, because I don't want anybody to say that I'm watching tortillas in the public and all that. And I said that the coalition will throw anybody under the bus. And and on the day when we choose the president, people were thrown under the bus.
So what is your question?
Oh, the question, he said that we couldn't have done anything else, that the coalition was under pressure, and they couldn't do anything else but give up the election.
Okay.
But if you know that was going to happen, you shouldn't be fanning out and telling people about other votes.
So you just gave me a question and an answer. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna have Comrade Mahipur respond to those 3 questions, and then we're gonna take another 3 and move on. And again, I have to remind you folks, the opening statement has got to be followed by a quick question in the interest of time. So please cooperate.
Thank you very much. I believe, I may be wrong, but in my view, there was only 1 question and 2 statements, and I can understand the statements because people are hurting. I can understand it, and I can also understand that it is necessary for people to sometimes take off that burden from their chests. You know, I tell people, I say, when you and your neighbor don't get along, and if you want to get along back with your neighbor, you want to say sorry even if you were wrong. But you must say it like if you mean it, and you will feel that burden being lifted off your chest. And you will watch that same neighbor and smile. And that same neighbor might be burning up because they didn't choose to take off the burden from their chests. So sometimes it is good to vent, it is good to speak, it is good to take off that burden from your chest. Jeffrey Everts, Professor, Sir, the man that gave me a C in E-E-E-L-E. I guess now I deserve an A. Yes, I know him from the University of Guyana. And he was an excellent lecturer. Thank you for that statement. I believe all Guyanese embrace the fact that Sarah must go. And if your people, majority of your people don't want someone in the country, then the proper thing to do is to resign and go. Why are you still there? I am not the only person saying Sarah must go.
She's here and she should stay here. She's in Texas right now, she should stay.
Congressman Jeffrey said she must go. And Guyanese are saying she must go. I don't know. She was in Texas. Exile conference there with some of them. She was there. People with their interests. people with their interests. And there is something called distraction politics, which the PDP is good at. That rally that we had in New York, in Brooklyn, shook them to the core. They start giving out money. Pensioners getting 25,000 bonus.
$300.
$9. And some other $25,000 for if you're born in under $3,000 electricity bill. I don't know if anybody's born in that $3,000 every day. Cost of living that has gone up, fuel price that goes up and all of that. I don't know how many people are going to get that benefit, but they start doling out money to people. But I want to say to the public servants, we will continue to put the pressure, so your time is coming. Public servants, your time is coming. They're going to give you a raise too. They're going to give you a raise. Granny and grandpa, more pension coming. They're going to give you out more because we in the coalition, and we with the support of the diaspora, and we with the support of GOAR, and with the support of Richard Burke and his team, CGID, and all the others that are calling them out for their wrong, exposing their devious, malevolent plans, exposing them. We will continue to do that. And what they're going to do in return, they're going to try to distract the public by putting money in their pocket. So we know what are their plans. But the people must not believe, and this is serious, the people must not believe that that little pittance takes away from those wicked people and what they stand for. Because many times, when they give you 25, they take $5 million. There's a reason why they're doing it in that scampish way, where they're actually taking the liquid cash and going around with their people, going around with their sheriffs, jacobats, committed this is, going around with their own people, you know. And then when they have give you an amount, they know how they get another amount into their pockets. So don't be misguided by the little pittance. We don't want you to plaster the sore. We don't want you to cover the little scratch and hope that it will heal. We want you to do what is right so you don't get the sore, so you don't get the scratch. So you ain't got to put no plaster to think it look good when there's a big patch on the bottom. They must do what is right, and we will continue to expose them. Jason Benjamin, former UGSS president. I'm a former UGSS president too, and he knows that. And I learned a lot from him. Standard bearers, all the way. When you ask a question that is, that is typical Jason. But I want to say to you, brother, that in this age, I may look 62, but I'm 32. And I enjoy the company of a man who looks 16 and Joretta who looks 12. I enjoy their company. And they may be the young ones that are teaching the senior. So we are guided by each other, and we are guided by the people who have been there before. And when we listen to them, my brother, we don't just absorb and put out. We analyze and we contextualize and we rationalize, because what was Guyana 10 years ago is not Guyana 10 years now. So they may tell us and guide us what has happened to them, and it is us to put it into context and advance it into today's reality. So sometimes we get advices that we may term as good and some we may term as bad, but how we deliver it is what you must judge us on. Mr. Thomas Saunders, we were cheated, not defeated. We were cheated. not defeated. And Guyana as a people must rise. We must not fall. And the coalition is on pause. But we're going to press back that button and we're going to continue to play. We're on pause. There were external forces, people that had personal political interests, geopolitics, that fought us tooth. And they tried their best, and we fought back. I said that, we fought back. We fought back. But it comes back, my friend, my comrade, my brother. The people's power must stand strong. We have seen what has happened. We know what they did, and the best teacher is experience. And once bitten, twice shy, and only a fool can make the same mistake twice.
Thank you, Mr. Michael. And in the interest of time, we'll be moving on to our next presentation. I'll ask Mr. Washington to introduce to you our next speaker.
Thank you, Joella. I think you all have a copy of the program. You don't? Okay, well, let me introduce this next speaker. He's known to everybody. He's the executive director in the office of the leader of the opposition. And as Ganesh rightly said, one of the more experienced politicians. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Aubrey Norton. Aubrey Norton.
Is that we competitive?
Co-moderators, all the visitors from Guyana, our Guyanese resident in the New York area, all present. First, allow me to say a special thanks to Wilfred Burke and Mr. Washington and his team. I believe that they have put together a program that has not only succeeded, but it succeeded in getting the PPP's attention. And that success is fundamental because the PPP has the tendency to listen to nothing except themselves. And to the point they are forced to listen means some amount of success has been achieved. I also, before I want to move on, acknowledge another counselor who wasn't mentioned. I think I saw her around, Ms. Chanel Daniels. Yeah, yes, she's also visiting with us. Friends, we're operating at an interesting time in Guyana. In response to this activity and the other activities, the installed president has established that he is very mendacious. He's a liar. He's a liar. I must underscore it because we have the tendency not to call out them and allow them to get away. I saw a post just now in which he suggested that the things we are saying here are not true and that we're lying. I think he has a history of lying. While I was Shadow Minister Housing in the Parliament, he came to the Parliament and told us that he had given Linden 20,000 house lots. And I responded by saying, if there is an average of 4.2 person per household in Guyana, if you give Linden 20,000 house lots, you should effectively house a minimum of 80,000 people. But Linden didn't have 40,000. And there were still many applications. But that data suggests that he's a liar.
Mendacious.
Mendacious. I pointed out to him when he asked for evidence that you said you will take back lands from all Guyanese who got it under the APNU-AFC. Again, he was caught lying because he only addressed the African Guyanese. But he's not only lying, he's confirming that he is racist. And so I think the records need to be set straight. The PPP has a strategy. And the strategy is to talk about one Guyana and act to create two Guyanas. One in which the PPP and its close cohorts benefit, and the others are marginalized. We have to come together to end the racism of the People's Progressive Party. It is impossible, virtually impossible, to speak about democracy when you practice racism. It's virtually impossible to speak about the rule of law and practice racism. And to the extent that the People's Progressive Party practices racism, they will have no respect for the rule of law, and Guyana will not be democratic. I want to make it clear. The PPP has clear strategies outlined. One of the most effective strategies they use is to instill fear. They have virtually caused journalists not to want to write anything against them because they have instilled fear. But what they need to know, there were other regimes that instilled fear and they were removed, and the People's Progressive Party will be removed. The People's Progressive Party uses COVID-19 as a tool of repression. Whereas in the world, many societies want to look at the science, they want to ensure that there are proper protocols, not so the People's Progressive Party. They are in a dilemma. Let me tell you what is the dilemma they are in. On the one hand, they want businesses open. And so they claim to have curfews, etc., but don't necessarily enforce them. But on the other hand, they don't want people protesting, they don't want political activism, they don't want public meetings, so they end up closing the activities that they don't want while facilitating the activities that they want. So we end up with a selective approach to COVID. And so COVID for them is not a pandemic in which they should treat all Guyanese equally and get rid of the problem. For them, it is a political tool for them to repress the opposition. And the repression is not restricted to COVID. They are practicing what some people call digital oppression. Many of you would have heard that on the day of the rally, Guyana got blacked out. That is not by accident. That is all part of their strategy and approach. Sharon will tell you, I can tell you from the programs we do, Whenever we are doing programs online, it is then that problems emerge because they have the technology at their disposal and they are disrupting feed. They are disrupting the internet. So we are experiencing a digital repression. Under the APNU AFC, we put many information technology hubs across the country, especially in the hinterland where people have no access. They are closing them down, disrupting them, because they believe that they must control and dominate. The people of Guyana began to signal them that we will oppose their domination, we will oppose their control, and we are going to get the People's Progressive Party out of office. My friends, we need to understand the strategy of the PPP. They are seeking to control even the media. If you look at what is being covered by Kaichur and Starbuck, you will see they are careful not to cover the opposition. When the PPP was in opposition, Barrett Jagdeo was in the press all the time. Even in the Chronicle, which they now refuse us to give access to, they were in. I want you to detect from that the APNU AFC is better at governance than the People's Progressive Party. And we must not miss that. We must recognize for the last 5 years that Guyanese felt a freedom. When you went to Guyana, you saw the ease and comfort. And in under a year, they have returned Guyana to a place of ethnic tension. The People's Progressive Party is no good for Guyana. And they are not only no good because of the things I mentioned. If you are following Guyana, I give you the first quality of them, divisiveness. They have no interest in the Guyanese people living and working together. But there is a second quality, incompetence. The People's Progressive Party is manifestly incompetent. Where else in the world do you reduce VAT on commodities and the price go up? Actually saying jumpy economics. That has to be jumpy economics. You came to power telling us you will reduce taxes, you will reduce VAT. They had a sign, reduce 200 taxes. Well, if they did and the price go up, they must be economic jumpies. And so the people of Guyana know that they lie, they make false promises, and they themselves are creating the conditions for the APNU AFC to return to government and return to it. We've seen the incompetence in the handling of COVID. Until now, they can't tell us anything about the Sputnik, apart from the fact that it's not WHO recognized. They can't tell us what they get. They don't know if they got Sputnik or about to mark Sputnik with water. It is that level of incompetence that masquerades as a government. And so, that incompetence is also necessary to feed their corruption. They are a corrupt regime, historically and presently. The PPP cannot help itself. It must become involved in corruption. Go back through the history when the bridge floated away. Go back through the history when they claimed the building of Mario Falls. You go through the history and see they have always developed projects to ensure a small elite in the PPP benefit and get rich. They are not prepared to develop programs like we did to ensure the people benefit. And one would have thought that their interest was in a proper system to ensure the resources that come from the oil and gas sector will go back to the people in a structured way so that the people can develop. But we protest in North America and Lyric Ali gets up and say, give him money for this, money for that. He clearly has no sense of where Guyana should go. He clearly has no interest in development. They have developed a policy and an approach of bribing people in the society. They focus on the AP and UAFC strongholds, and they are distributing funds. I say to many Guyanese, check, but they know full well in PPP, you are corrupt, you are incompetent, and you are racist in your approach. So you can dole out how much money you want. In the final analysis, people know full well that you are not the best thing for Guyana. I have attempted to give you a brief idea as to how this authoritarian regime operates, how it uses the media, how it uses state resources for domination. Danish pointed out to you what they did to a young woman who is entitled to a house lot. And mind you, one of the things they're not saying, you want to see the racism again? When they are talking about giving out funds to the household, 400,000 for a household that is affected, 360,000. But then when they come out to talk about rice, which you know is their stronghold, they give a price per acre. Now, if you are going to distribute all the rest based on households, then suddenly out of the blues, I don't remember if it's 400,000 or 600,000, you're going to give it per acre. What in fact you're doing is you're confirming that you have no interest in the small man. You're going to put the resources back in the hands of the wealthy, because who has the most acreage? The wealthy. But who will need it most? The poor people with a small plot who will need more resources than the already wealthy. And so it is evident that the People's Progressive Party is about making the rich richer and the poor poorer. We've seen that. I'm saying to you, therefore, you must have hope. I believe in Guyana, there is leadership in the opposition to beat the People's Progressive Party. I believe we have to unleash a fight for a new voters list. Because with a new voters list, we don't stand a chance. We have to do the work to ensure that we keep GCOM in check, because they have a history of what they had voodoo. They didn't charge voodoo, who there was evidence against, but the fighting the charge people, they have no evidence. And so I want to make the last point here. At this stage in Guyana, we are facing a police force that is being dominated and controlled by the People's Progressive Party. And so as a result of that, we expect drug trafficking to increase again. We expect trafficking in persons to increase again, because it's a criminal regime. And to the extent that it is dominating and controlling the police force, they will close off the avenues for policemen to do their work properly. We need to confront that. We also need to confront the creeping control of the judiciary. The last hope will be destroyed by the PPP if they can be allowed to take the judiciary and control it and use it at their whim, fancies, and caprices. And so we have to struggle to ensure that the judiciary stays independent. We have to struggle to regain independence of the Guyana Police Force, because those issues are critical to our success. But I believe we'll succeed. I believe we have the leadership to do it. And I believe our people are fired up and ready to take on the people's progressive act. And this activity over the last couple of days, these activities over the last couple of days would have given them renewed vigor. And it will add to them and change a perception. Our people now have a clear perception that the United States and other governments are not in support of what is happening at present. And so the conditions internationally are changing and are becoming propitious to the success of the APNU-AFC coalition. So I believe with your support, with your solidarity, with leadership, and a focused and organized program to get rid of the People's Progressive Party, in very short measure, Guyana should return to the status of the 2015 to 2020, where Guyanese feel comfortable and believe we were pursuing a path of developing a society in which all people are treated equally, where Aborigines feel comfortable, Indo-Guyanese feel comfortable, Afro-Guyanese feel comfortable, and if you mix, you don't have to worry which side you are comfortable. I want to say that is the kind of Guyana we're looking forward to. That is the kind of Guyana we expect. And once the resources are there, the people of Guyana will be able to participate in those resources and end the PPP's approach of different folks for different strokes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Norton, for such a dynamic presentation. We'll take in 3 questions, and again, let me just tell you that respectfully, I'm asking you to just ask questions. I know a lot of persons want to make statements and comments, but I will just ask that you keep your question on the 2 minutes. I'll first acknowledge the lady in the white. Go ahead. Good evening, everyone. Could you please introduce yourself and then go ahead with your question, please? My name is Small. Good evening to all of you. I'm going to read my question because I want to ensure that all my thoughts are being heard. Around the world and in Turkey, we have seen a growing authoritarianism where elected leaders like. Could you please be a little more louder? Okay. Around the world, like in Turkey, we are seeing growing authoritarianism where elected leaders like President Erdogan use the cover of the ballot box to accrue power and to undermine the functioning of the democratic process. Since the last elections, we have seen the PPP attempting to ignore the Police Service Commission and the Local Government Commission. More recently, we have seen the chairman of GCOM joining with the PPP commissioners to execute the political motivated removal of GCOM officers. So do you think that we have seen a Turkey-style erosion of democracy in Yemen? And if so, what does the PNCR plan to do to prevent it? Thank you. I now acknowledge the gentleman at the back in the green.
Good evening. My name is David Thomas, and you actually keep it short. My question is, in Guyana, do we have an independent judiciary?
Thank you, sir. Also acknowledge the woman in orange at the back.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Natasha Arokian. And my question is, I paid for a land in full in March in the Providence area. I applied for that land in 1998. I had my lot number and everything. All of a sudden, they decided that they're going to give me a new allocation letter for Great Diamond. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure because I'm black. I just want to know why could they just all of a sudden decide, we're removing you.
Thank you so much. I'll now allow Mr. Norton to come to the podium.
So to answer the first question, democracy as a concept is about people's power. But it's not an event, it's a process. It's a process. And what we have seen over the years, there are times when the process moves in the direction of further democratization, and then forces that are against democracy can emerge and challenge democracy, as we've just seen in the United States of America. If one starts from the standpoint that a society is democratic, we will be wrong. Really and truly, democracy is a process. And in that process, it could be moving forward and forces come and it will regress. We've seen that in a number of societies. For instance, I believe in Guyana, we have retrogressed because we were moving in the direction of an independent constitutional bodies. The police force was being allowed to operate professionally. The judiciary was being allowed to operate independently. And we're seeing a reversal of that. And so one of the things we need to recognize is that people can talk democracy, but you have to see how they act. And across the world, we've seen many regimes that are talking democracy, but are acting dictatorially. The PPP is the summit of it. They talk democracy, but act authoritarianism and racism. The question of independence of the judiciary, I think, will also fall into the same category. Clearly, you have a situation where there are judges that want to operate independently. But the People's Progressive Party for years have been trying their best to make the independent institutions subservient to the People's Progressive Party and its elite. In fact, we saw during the election process, in collaboration with others, they wriggled their way until they put 3 judges that they know will support them, so law didn't matter. The People's Progressive Party position seems to be, if it suits us, then the law will take its course and the judiciary be independent. But if it challenges us politically, we will control and dominate it. So I would say that the judiciary is in flux at this stage with evidence of PPP control and domination in many areas. As it relates to the land, the People's Progressive Party's policies on land were never really clear. And there are those who complain regularly. Your complaint is a normal complaint, that they have been allocated a land, and then out of the blues, probably one of those PPP persons who got power wants that land, and then they take it and reallocate it. And so there is not a clear policy. And then because it is done with such level of adhocery, there is scope for them to do that kind of thing. And so we see a situation in which, apart from the corruption and the political control and domination, we see a situation where people could be allocated a house lot for years, they walk around, see it, somebody walk around, see it, go to them because they are linked, and they seek to change it. I believe we, in a structured way, have got to fight them attempting to use politics and race to determine who gets the house lot, when they keep, how they keep it, when they keep it. Because we've seen clearly attempts to take away house lots from people. And it is much wider. I commented, I think, at some forum here, where Linden is predominantly Afro-Guyanese. And if you travel the Lusus-Linden Highway, they have given virtually all the lands to one ethnic group. And so, I believe another battle is coming in Guyana, the battle for the landless. And I'm not defining the battle for the landless as a battle over house lots. I'm talking about land that can be used economically to generate and create independence. The People's Progressive Party is depriving a lot of people of meaningful use and occupation of land. And they seem to believe that only them and their friends, because don't fool yourself, if an Indian wants land and they don't like them, they got nothing to get. And that's why I always tell people it is both ethnic and political discrimination. And in some cases, there are individual vindictiveness. And I believe the direction that they are taking Guyana, they will emerge like ongoing in parts of Africa, where there will have to be a battle of the landless to get land as a means of economic development. I hope those answers will suffice.
Thank you, Mr. Norton. Before we introduce the next speaker, I'm going to ask, and I know you met them before, but I'm going to ask all of our invited guests to stand. All of our invited guests who came from 63,000 square miles. 83, This did not allow one to talk with a coming from the picture and coming here to share with us this background of information. And I'm going to ask Loretta to take the microphone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Washington. And I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to a very important group of people. I would like to ask all the members of GOAR to please stand. All the members of GOAR, please stand. I like to say, think about it. We salute the effort of GOAR, and I think particularly me, being from Bartica, I have the privilege of saying this right now. Being from Bartica, Region 7 in Guyana, I'm particularly thankful and proud to say that Mr. Irvin Washington and Mr. Rickford Burke, both Barticians, are the co-chairs of GOAR. So Barticians celebrate you. We appreciate everything that you are doing. We have also Kamal cheering there from Bartica.
I'm sorry. What's his name? Cheryl is also from Montreal.
We have a lot of honorary Barticians in the house. We acknowledge each and every one of you here. Mr. Washington, I'd like you to introduce our next presenter.
I was on the rally on Sunday, and I gave the little story of when I woke up in the morning with the idea, and I asked God what to do next. And God said, "Call Rickford." And I called Rickford, and Rickford answered. And he said to God, "What do I do now?" So we spoke for a while, and we decided, you know what, let's make it happen. And we did. The next person we called, this is just to give you a little historical background of how this whole thing unfolded. The next person we called was Errol Lewis, he's the chairman of the North American region of the PNCR. And the next person we called was Aubrey Norton. And everybody agreed. We painstakingly identified the people we wanted to come here. We didn't want everybody from Guyana to come here because everybody wasn't going to bring the same message. Our message is simply Guyanese organizations against racism. That's it. That's it.
Good job, good job.
We have to recognize one of our visitors who had to leave, Natasha St. Louis. She's also a member of parliament. She had to leave yesterday. And she sent me a little thank you note, and she said her footnote that I'm going to use going forward, it says GOAR to the core. GOAR to the core. So our visiting team has already taken something from this. Let me say it to the visiting team again. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. As long as there is life in this body, and I can speak to the others in the group, GOAR to the core.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce to you my co-chair, one of the hardest working men in North America for Guyana, Mr. Richard Burke. Thank you. And by the way, he only has the same amount of time that.
Thank you, Washi. Thanks, Member of Parliament, Joetta Finance. Member of Parliament, Joetta Finance. As I'm doing that, let me also join with Mr. Washington in thanking all of you for coming this afternoon, first of all. Thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause. But I also specifically want to thank the people who have come from Guyana. And they, just for those listening, they came, some of them came for this event particularly. Some of them happen to have been at least two persons. They were going to be here anyway, and they either adjusted their stay or their vacation, but they made a sacrifice to get here, and we want to thank them. So give them another round of applause. I don't think everybody knows. We stood up collectively just about everybody knows them individually. So I want to introduce them individually. The mayor of Georgetown is Canada Fire. I want to introduce the member of parliament. I know Cheryl, right? Cheryl's on TV every night. Cheryl downtown. I mentioned Joetta earlier. Then we have Ganesh Manipal, fireball there from Region 3. Then we have another fireball from Region 5, Mr. Jordan, Member of Parliament. Then we have our sister Kamal Pusal, Vice Chairman of Region 7, Marija. Then we have next to her, the Regional Chairman of Region 4, Clarence Mustapha, region of the country. That is a leader back in the power.
That's right. That's right.
Then we have Mr. Aubrey Norton, who is a deputy member of the PLC. We have John Stewart, who is a council member from Georgetown. Just a report, shut up, all right. So now that's Smith Daniels, the council member.
Love you, Shalom. Love you.
Philadelphia.
Love you, Rain.
And then we have the Shadow Minister of Foreign Affairs. Everybody knows her. Amanda, what? Amanda what? Boston is here. And this is women.
Yeah, Corbin's right.
Yeah, Boston's right.
Chief.
We also have Sherry Gold, the RDC chairman from Region 3. Where is she? Region 3 in the house.
Sherry!
Did we look good last Sunday? Did we look good on Sunday? Let's have a round of applause. Oh, Jennifer. Jenny's from New York, man. Jenny's from New York. We learn you all, Jenny. Jennifer, we're about to. former area, former chief whip, former member of parliament. Thanks, Jerry. Now, the event we had last Sunday was good. We had thousands of people there, and we want to apologize for having you out in a 106-degree weather. And for you guys to come out in that weather, in a pandemic, we're so grateful. You guys have always stood with us from the diaspora. So on behalf of GOAR and CGID and all the other 25 members of GOAR, thank you guys so much for the support you continue to give us. Now, I noticed that, as Aubrey said, the government started giving away money to distract me from what we're doing here. So, for the people in Guyana, keep encouraging us. So, every time you want money, we'll have a rally. Every time you want money, ask us to hold a rally, and we will do it. Now, I'm not going to take a lot of time. Before I go into some of the things I want to talk about, I promised earlier today that I will respond to Adam Landala. As you guys know, today the Guyana Police Force issued a statement saying that they investigated the investigation being conducted against Adam Landala by the NYPD.
Yes, right. Yes, right.
And then at the end, they said they were the inquirer. They inquired from the NYPD if Landala was on the investigation. And they say yes, but it was dismissed as frivolous investigations. You ever heard NYPD say anything like that? First of all, what the hell is the Guyana Police Force doing interfering in an investigation in New York? I called the chief today and he said, what Guyana Police Force has to do with what we're doing in New York? And he laughed at the statement. It's a policy to the country. The police commissioners should be ashamed of themselves. But first of all, you remember, right? He said he's such a powerful, smart lawyer. He's Attorney General. Remember he first said there was no investigation? So how come the police force got to conduct an investigation?
He didn't say, he said, man, he's lying.
Right, that's how stupid they are.
Yeah.
But it shows the arrogance of these people that he could make a phone call. He called when he called no phone call. The police force received no inquiry from the Guyana Police Force. I noticed Gordon Mosley asked the Guyana Police Force to produce some sort of evidence that they communicated with the NYPD. And Gordon said he's still waiting. Before the ink was dried on the statement, a senior police officer called me to say it was Landala who made the statement.
Come here, sit down there. Come here, sit down there.
They can bluff Chinese, but they can't bluff New Yorkers. We are New York strong.
That's right. That's right.
You don't get bluff.
That's right.
I will not take this statement and flush it. He is under investigation by the New York City Police Department. I can confirm that. And I noticed they were talking a lot of nonsense that we forgot in the report. Let me tell you the truth. I didn't even know what was going on. I didn't know they planned to kill me. It is a police officer who overheard the conversation and called the FBI. And the FBI called me. And then the police called me. And by the time I got home, they shut off the block without the police cars. So, Adam Landala, stop lying.
Yeah.
Stop lying. You're a liar.
Oh, gentlemen.
Remember, just before he came to New York, he fabricated, went on TV and fabricated allegations. I'm a convicted criminal in America. I've never traveled from any country here. But I want to emphasize that Adam Landala, who is a criminal, who was charged for public corruption, who when he was installed was before the court for public corruption, is calling people thief. He said a thief. I don't know what it is. But I want to emphasize how he fabricates stuff. It's important. He fabricated the allegations. Now he's fabricating the statement. He's the same man that fabricated the charges against Field. He's the same man that fabricated the charges against Von Lawrence. Fabricated against all the charges against Lux and Myers. He's a master fabricator. Yes, we're gonna give him an award. You know what? We gotta make that award. International fabricator. Alan Nandala is an international fabricator. But it's serious. Imagine you have a man sitting as attorney general of a country, fabricating stuff, creating an international incident, lying on the NYPD.
You got to fabricate some children.
Charlotte saying he was going to fabricate some children. But I don't want to spend too much time on that now. The message I want to say is that Rickford Burke is a different breed. I will fight him to the end of the world. You fight me. That's why I went to Queens to meet him and he ran away. You bring 12 big security guards with big gun and bulletproof vests, and then they say it was 30 weeks. Yes, they didn't share to say that. 30 weeks.
That's not the last time. That's not the last time. They keep the mouth shut with numbers.
Now, I want to respond to the President and the Prime Minister who attacked these members of Parliament here and said they were lying. What did the members of Parliament and the Mayor and the regional chairman and vice chairman say that is misleading? Let me tell you what I said. The regional chairman for Region 4 said they're starting his region for funds. Guys said they're discriminating against people in the COVID ban. Fact. Jarena spoke about how they're discriminating against Martica. The regional vice chairman said the same thing. Fact. Others spoke about what is happening in Guyana. The fact that thousands of people came out to march against racism, to highlight the discrimination, and the PPP could come out and say they're lying. It shows you that they want to continue to be like that. The congressman, the most powerful black politician in Washington, the chair of the ruling party in Congress, condemned their racism, rebuked them.
Yeah.
And they say, well, he is basing his information on people who are misleading him. They're so damn condescending. They're coming like the KKK. They can't stand flat like they have a powerful black man with information. They got to be misled.
That's right.
Trumpism.
Yes.
But this is America, and we're not going to tolerate it.
Yes. That's right. We New Yorkers.
They said the congressman was misled. They're so disrespectful. Like he can't do your research and find out what they're doing. So disrespectful. A bunch of half-educated people challenging a man from George Washington University and NYU Law School.
I forgot graduate challenging him.
That's so disrespectful. Barely got an education. All of them. Barjack, they come from somewhere from Patrice. Anyway, I don't want to friend anybody who went to that university. But we are saying to the government, you have to come to the table and change your ways. We don't want to hear your lie. You got to come with a different tune. Figure out how you're going to govern this country on behalf of everybody. Guyana does not belong to the PPP and its supporters. And at some point in time, we have to stop whatever they're doing, stop their governance. Because if half the population cannot benefit from the natural patrimony and the resources of the country, nobody should. Nobody. They don't have an economic plan for the country. All they have is some ad hoc projects who sign a hotel delay, sign a this delay. Guys, should they present an economic plan for the country to Parliament? No. But they're governing the country just like Trump, straight out of Trump here, only for their people. And when members of Parliament people who are elected by the people to the highest decision-making forum of the country, they speak, they attack them. One member of parliament said that they were establishing in their squad, they arrested her. They arrested her. That police station should have burned down that night. That's what we do it in America. The young people in this country almost tear this country apart for racism. And the young people in Ghana must stay. They came into power, automatically determined that the APNU-AFC government was illegal after the no confidence motion. And so they started to undo everything the government did, including taking away the lands of African Guyanese, Indo-Guyanese who support the coalition, Amerindians who support the coalition. Then they fired 2,000 people. And Mandela was proud to say they were fired because they were on social media supporting the coalition. But whose country it is? Who pays taxes? Why the coalition supporters must pay taxes so that the PDP supporters can be hired and get paid with that money? They don't own the country, and we must not accept it. And one of the things we are saying, and we're going to say to the US government, they must rehire those people. What else do these people to do? Deputy Permanent Secretary, the Commissioner for the Securities Commission, heads of department, people who are not political, fired because there was a certain ethnicity or political affiliation. And then the corruption. Do you guys know that since the APNU-AFC government left office, there has not been one transparent oil lift or accounting for the oil sale by this government? And we know that there are a bunch of thieves. We know that Barjack is a thief. Old scammer, shall I say. Things tight now. Think tight. Of the shipments of the Guyana oil, and I want to emphasize this, since the PPP took over, none has been sold by an honest international bidding process. They have made side deals with Hess, with India, Trafigura, and other shady operators in the international community. And I am shocked that they are in bed with Trafigura. This company is a company that sent the Brazilian president to jail. And they have been banned by many countries from involvement in the oil and gas industry. But Barja, they found a way to have a subcontract to somebody, and bring back to the euro so that he could possibly get a kickback. All pre-qualifications for bidding have been cancelled. They canceled every regulation regarding bidding for oil. And guess who's controlling that whole process? The bidding process, the sale, maybe the collection of the money. Japio. We just had an oil lift. The bids of the people who they selected, they're selecting who will bid them. It's not invited bids, they're selecting who will bid. Hey, Jason, you put in a bid, Amanda put in a bid, Jeremy put in a bid, and we can look at it. And the last bid was going to be opened at Tuesday because the Monday was a holiday. Now listen to this. The Monday was a holiday. But they required the bid to be submitted Friday. So that bid was submitted to Barajak or whoever. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And they will meet on Tuesday. Who knows what happened from Friday to Monday in those bids? They can open the car, somebody say, hey man, this big bar, bid so, you put in a bid for 500 million. Because we know they're corrupt. They are managing the oil resources of the country like it is theirs. And we must not allow that. And that's where the diaspora comes in. I'm deliberately raising these issues where I know the diaspora will have an impact. We have to know, and we've made a decision with CGID, and we will bring GOAR on board. We are going to write every US company operating in Guyana and inform them about the racism. And then we're going to invite the Black Lives Matter, Reverend Al Sharpton, and the Action Network to join us in those letters. We will disrupt business in Guyana. We mean business. We will not allow the PPP to run away with the people's resources like they did over the last 23 years when they were in power. So I want to send a clear signal to American companies operating in Guyana. If you continue to do business with the PPP without ensuring that the pillars of democracy in Guyana stand strong, then we're going to join the Black Lives Matter. We're going to target you just like you were targeted last year. We can't afford to have racism and apartheid government in the Western Hemisphere and in the Caribbean. So that's what we're going to do. And by the way, this is not the last activity. The next one is in Washington. The next march is in Washington. So Father Chapter, get ready. You're going to have another bout of diarrhea. Because we went to Washington. And we're going to have a White House briefing. We're going to meet with our members of Congress. And we're going to meet at the OAS. And we're going to go to the World Bank. And all those institutions that are giving Guyana money. We're going to do exactly what they did to the AP and the AFC government. And Barjavier must be prepared for a fight because we're going to fight him. We're fighting in Congress, fighting here in New York, fighting in the White House. And let me tell you this, we're building a movement to fight him on the ground in Guyana. And I noticed somebody said that somebody should be charged for treason. Let me tell PPP supporters, go ahead and charge somebody for treason. Go ahead this time. Because we will war with you. I'm not afraid to say it. We will declare war on them because they have declared a war on our people. And it's time we fight back. PPP supporters don't monopoly on war. Hear me? PPP supporters don't have a monopoly on war. And I noticed they sending all kind of threats to me and my family. Touch us! Come touch us. Come and touch us because we will fight where you live. And I don't have a lot who's been threatening me and telling people up here to kill me. I want to know if he thinks he's going to survive after that. Just wanted to throw that in as a sidebar. Now, there are certain things that we say to people because I don't believe we should just cross them out and do. We should lay the conditions because we believe in good governance. And we support the coalition that has practiced good governance. And so we should give them some pointers on good governance, don't you think? Yeah. So the first thing we're telling them is, one, restore the resources of the people of Guyana back to the opposition leader's office. Restore it. The resources of the country don't belong to the PPP. That's one condition. Second, the COVID grants and the school grants and all these things, ensure that it is equitable. Ensure that every community benefits from the people's resources, not the PPP resources. The money ain't coming from Freedom House, it is coming from the people. Restore it. And all those regions, now imagine Region 4 has all the businesses. Georgetown has all the businesses that have propelled the Guyanese economy. The PPP government taking all these taxes, taking all the duties, and refusing to give the resources back to the people of the region. So we were saying, and we have already begun to discuss this with our members of Congress, so they will know what to say. They must fund equally the regions and towns and municipalities and neighborhood democratic councils. Fund them. Imagine they're getting all this oil money and they're refusing to fund regions and towns. to have black people and APM supporters when they're Amerindians or Indians. Who the hell these people think they are?
Jagabats.
Shall I say Jagabats? I'll come to that. All of the lands that they're attempting to take away, they need to stop that policy right now. Stop the policy right now. And they're so stupid, it has severe implications for international business. And that's one of the things we will tell these companies. Any company we see going into Ghana, we're going to write them and tell them, here, you better be careful doing business with this government because of the government change, we're going to review it too. So all these companies who don't want to tell the people to change their ways, we're gonna make sure we tell them if our government going to power, we're gonna review those contracts because that's what they're doing. And when and if the PPP won't, that's how we run the country. When you come in and take everything, you get welcome and you do the same thing. And are we, as a voters list, I am publicly saying, everybody vote for the dead mother, the crap mother, the dog, everybody, because the CCJ said, once the ballot in the box counted, so I'm going to vote for everybody. There's no more illegal voting in Guyana. Every ballot comes, not ballot, every ballot, chocolate ballots in there. We can treat the PPP just like they want to treat us. I am telling you, the PPP is in for a rough hard time from this month of August. From this month of August. And I see Barajam, they're saying again that I'm a low life. When me come from the same mother, so I can't be a low life. We want to tell them, you see this? We want to tell them that they will have to make sure that they establish rules and regulations to regulate the oil and gas industry and establish a commission or whatever mechanism to ensure that the resources that we get from the oil and gas industry in Ghana are equitably distributed across the population of Ghana. It's not only their people. And before I close, I want to mention something. That comes here. The PPP government went to Parliament and voted for funds to form a new security force, a secret police like that with KGB in Russia. And before they went to Parliament, the force was already operational. And some of the people that they have in the force are people from the death squads that used to operate as the Phantom Death Squad. And what they did is made them supernumerary constables in the Ghana Police Force and seconded them to this joint service, whatever they're calling it. It's a death squad. And we are saying in the diaspora that we have noticed a pattern of behavior from the PPP, where they're attacking professional black women, professional women who don't support them, attacking people's security, putting in danger the lives of people. You notice all the executions start back. We are calling on the ex-members of the Guyana Police Force and the Guyana Defense Force to form a militia or an organization, whatever you call it, to protect the lives of people who don't support the PPP. And why I'm saying that? Because the Guyana Police Force is complicit with them, and they're not protecting the people. So somebody got to protect the people. We are taking it to this time. You can't kill out black people again and get away with it. We're going to fight you back. And we will fund them from the diaspora. And they can write the Justice Department, the State Department like they've done. I have a right to free speech. And my speech, I'm saying, form a protective force to protect the people that the PPP is attacking and the police force is not protecting. So I have a justification for it. And in America, the Constitution gives us a right to form a militia. And before I close, I just got some information that really got me upset. Let's get upset quick. I understand that the American ambassador allegedly engineered the withdrawal of funding from an organization because somebody who came and guided the delegation is associated with that organization. Let me say this very clearly. Very, very clearly. The American ambassador, Sarah Lynch, is a Trump racist. She has been complicit with the PPP racism, racial policies, and racial practices. She has compromised U.S. security by going to the home of a gentleman in Escribo who is under investigation by the FBI, the Justice Department, and the Customs and Border Protection Agency for funding terrorism, money laundering, gold smuggling, and narcotics trafficking. Could you imagine a black ambassador doing that? And when she was asked by Enrico Wolford in an interview if that is not appropriate, if that is not inappropriate, she said she went for a bathroom break and she's going to do it again. Arrogance. Arrogance. And that's why we support the call by Congressman Hakeem Jeffries for her to resign or be fired. My message to her today is pack your bags and go. Sarah Lynch must pack her bags and go. And if the congressman, who is the chair of the Democratic Caucus in Congress, says she should go, you know she's going, right? How dare this woman come to our country and operate like she's the owner of a cotton picking plantation, dictating to the government how elections results should be announced and all of that. How dare this woman come to our country and disrupt our elections process?
Afghanistan.
Sharon is saying she can go to Afghanistan. Yes, I endorse that. She can go to Afghanistan. But as I close, let me say this. We are on a mission. We have started a movement. The Vincentians have joined our movement. The Haitians have joined our movement. This movement is full of Guyanese. We're energized. According to that, we fire up. Are you fired up? Are you fired up? Are you ready to go? Are you ready to go to Washington to march and fight for the APN AFC coalition to get back into power? Join us. Join us. Join every one of us. The people in Guyana, join this movement. The people from Boston, Essex, Barbados, Region 1, 2, 3, wherever, join this movement. The PPP supporters, think about this. Do you support racism? If you don't support racism, join the movement. Join the movement. The people in Queens, if you don't support racism, join this movement. It is not about race. It is about civil liberties.
Yep.
It is about freedom. It is about human dignity. How can you support a political party that doesn't believe in equality for all? How can you support a political party that embraces apartheid? And then let me say this. You see this mayor here? I want to send a message. They threaten the mayor. Touchy, the mayor belongs to the people. And they're attacking him because he's an East Indian and he doesn't support them. And yesterday, because the mayor spoke with the congressman, they took away his security, where he's away from his family. So they left him and his wife and his children unprotected. But Let me say this, if anything happens to the mayor's family, I want to call on the people of Georgetown to let loose the dogs of war against the enemy. And we're going to stand with him and every one of these members of parliament here. When they go back to Guyana, I want to call on the people of Guyana to go to the airport and greet them as heroes. For them to play. For them to play and meet them as heroes. And we in the diaspora will support you. We have over 30 members of Congress supporting us. And you know why they're getting upset? They got paid lobbyists millions of dollars when we just got make a phone call. One congressman, we have a 30. They can't do that. And that's why they're upset. So I'm fired up. You're fired up. The movement is fired up. Let's get going. Thank you. Woo. Woo. If you're fired up, say woo.
Somebody get rid of the water, please. We can't have the emergency services come here. Folks, you've heard it loud and proud. Loud and proud. Purgatory, trench troubles, all the names that describe what's happening in our country. Why are you sitting there? Jagabats. As per Mr. Martika over here. Honorary member of Washington. Is becoming racial?
I'm also partisan. Keep on teaching people their hair now.
I agree with the GOAR is about everything. See right here, sir. We're going to accommodate 3 questions for Mr. Burke. Just those of you who have asked questions before, and I understand you have several, we're running really on time. So we're going to accommodate 3 questions for Mr. Burke, and by show of raise of hands, the gentleman with the mask on right there. 1 question per person, please. The gentleman with the mask.
Good afternoon, everyone. What is it is really, I don't know if this is a question for you, but I think this is a question for someone in Guyana to answer. I want someone from Guyana to answer.
In that light, I think we are good, making good utilization of time. Could I ask Mr. Aubrey Martin and Mr. Spanish Mike Paul to take the stage? So when we take the questions, if you want to direct the one that specifically you will be able to. Mr. Martin and Mr. Mike Paul, can you join Mr. Bork up here, please?
I absolutely have to repeat, we are running on time. We only have time for 3 questions. So please, folks, we definitely need your cooperation.
Okay. My question is easy. What are the challenges that's facing the APN party that they have not elected a leader yet and officers? That's my question.
Thank you. I'll ask Mr. Norton to take that question. So our next question, I'll acknowledge the gentleman at the back with check shirt, please.
Good evening. My name is Marlon Barkley, and I have a 2-part question actually for one of the members from Guyana, and actually, Mr. Banish, you said earlier it's going to take the people's power. So I would like you to explain what is meant by people's power, and also, are there measures that are being put in place to prevent what took place in the last elections, or actually guarantee us that it's not going to happen again? And basically, that's my question.
Okay, and I'll take the gentleman at the end here. And folks, please understand, I know some persons asked questions before, have their hands up, but we're just trying to spread it out to get as many persons as possible covered.
Thank you so much. My name is Colin Barnwell, and I have a ton of questions, but I know I can only ask one at this time, so I randomly selected one since they are of equal importance. So we here in the diaspora are standing up for all Guyanese, but I get the impression that because I listen to a lot of the programs, I listen to some of the representatives here, and I get the impression that you are a little hesitant to take this fight to the streets, or I'm not impressed that you've done sufficient to shake things up, to make a real statement to the PPP that you have fight in you. So my question is, has your position changed with regards to boots on the ground? And are we going to be seeing more evidence of a true fight? That this is war. The PPP has declared war. And honestly speaking, you guys are not fighting. I mean, what you call a fight here is not a fight. You're walking with you're going to a gunfight with a butter knife. A broken butter knife at that. So will we be seeing real demonstration in the streets of Georgetown, shutting down businesses that support the PPP, shutting down the country if this wicked and corrupt government continues on your wicked path?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. The very first question is going to go to Mr. Aubrey Norton. The second question will go to Mr. Ganesh Mahipal, and the third question goes to Mr. Burke, in that order. So, Mr. Burke, you're going to take your question. Who do you want to answer that question? Aubrey.
Let me give you the first question about elected leadership. The party has a constitution. The constitution says that the central executive will call a congress. As far as I know, the central executive has set up a committee. No, when the APNU doesn't elect a leader, if it is the APNU AFC talking about, that's a totally different thing to the PNC. Which is it you want, the PNC? Huh?
Yes.
Well,
He wants the PNC, that's what he's asking.
I'm saying to you that it will be guided by the Constitution. A decision has already been taken by the Central Executive that the committee is established to determine the details of Congress, when it will be held, etc. I am aware that that report is prepared and ready, and at the next Central Executive it will be presented. As it relates to the question of protesting Guyana, I can say to you that daily as I walk the streets of Georgetown, people say to me, we need to take the streets, we need to take on the government. I have said to them on more than one occasion, I agree with them, but there are some things we have to put in place to ensure that we can do that, and then we do it successfully. Many of you would know that in 1997, I led the protests, and we have learned from that. We want to prepare thoroughly, and once we are prepared, we will take on the People's Progressive Party in the way that we believe they should be taken on. I do not think we should go advertising, we can close this, close that, and let them prepare for us. I believe that if you are a political strategist, you strategize, maintain your element of surprise, do what you have to do. But the main focus is to ensure that whatever you do is structured in such a way that at the end of the day, there is a new government in place and the People's Progressive Party goes its way. That will be my answer to it.
I also want to briefly respond to you. Well, in terms of us here, I know you know we ain't taking one knife to the gunfight. If you're not gunfight, we can't gun to you. That's how I see it. Right? And the PPP guidelines. And so on a serious note, we want to send a message to the PPP that the people of Guyana have a right to protest. The people of Guyana have a right to protest. I want to encourage the people of Guyana to go out and protest. I see people in Boston and Belgium. I want to ask all the other, especially historic black towns that are being discriminated against, go out and protest. We have had conversations with the US government. We've had conversations with our members of Congress. We did discuss this issue of protection because we know that the PPP is stockpiling weapons. They're ordering weapons from the police force. They're ordering more sophisticated weapons for the Guyana Defense Force. We know that Bahamas have a whole arsenal of weapons. We know that our intelligence have told us that PPP members and supporters who own security companies have been stockpiling weapons and that they have been discussing the issue of protests. And we know that they have been saying and expressing concerns about all the so-called black people in the Guyana Police Force and the Guyana Defense Force. And that's what they did the last time. They formed their squads, not the one forming not their squad. The people of Guyana must be on high alert because that's the nature of the PPP. You notice how they are so vindictive. So the US government will warn them about, just like President Biden last week or a week before last warned Cuba about attacking protesters. And I am saying to the people of Guyana, if you go out there and comply with the law to exercise your constitutional right, and the People's Progressive Party attack you, respond. Respond with any means necessary. We want to send a message. We're not tolerating that thing this time. The PDP wants to put Guyana in war. They're fighting to bring the country into civil conflict. And if that's where they want to take it right there.
So I was asked to explain what I mean by people's power, and I believe.
Let's explain.
Yes, because see, that's good. But you see, it calls for us. It's not a MP thing or a chairman thing or a regional council thing. It's our thing. And every Wednesday, the members of parliament initiated a protest at Square of the Revolution. I think it's the third or fourth Wednesday. Tomorrow will be the fourth Wednesday since we initiated that effort to mobilize and organize our people so that we can send that clear and distinct message to the People's Progressive Party. And we did not initiate it because we don't have issues. We have lots of issues. And it comes back to what Irfan Ali and the others were saying. When you look at the manner in which GWI workers were dismissed, racism, discrimination. When you look at the nurses at Linden, how they were treated, racism, discrimination. When you look at the GCOM officials, how they were treated, the law of natural justice did not take its course, racism, discrimination. When you look at the joint regional security team that they established, they're telling us that they don't have confidence in their own Afro minister, Rosenberg. They're telling us that because they went and established a new security force to fight crime. So they don't have any confidence in the Guyana police force. When you look at the COVID cash grant, we spoke about that at length. When you look at the COVID vaccine, when they go to certain communities, they utilize certain areas, they share information, they give out hampers, and in other communities, predominant Afro-Guyanese, they give you a bag of rice. Racism, discrimination. When you look at the Guyana Public Service Commission, the Public Service Commission was instructed not to employ people. because they are waiting the change of the Public Service Commission where they can put their own javelins to do their work. Racism, discrimination. So when we say that there is racism and discrimination, it's not coming out of thin air. It's no lie. It's not any fabrication. It's factual. It's factual. And I don't have to shout that because I don't have a voice right now. I want to go back to Guyana with a voice. I can subtly tell them that they are racist. And it's true. And you ask if there are measures in place to not allow a reoccurrence. I want to tell you that the people who played a vital role in that national recount from our side, they saw it. They have seen how it has happened. And it is them who will play a role. And we will start the process of training our people to know what to look for. We have an eagle's eye on it. And that was our name, the Eagle Eyes. And we know what to look for, so I want to assure you that we will be watching them well. But it calls for us and our people who will be integrally involved to understand what is loyalty and what is commitment to the cause. Thank you.
Thank you, all the presenters. Let's give our presenters a round of applause. And one last bit of housekeeping before we leave. This thing here, it's too often when you walk the streets and see them lying on the sidewalk. I'm going to urge you to continue to respect this piece of material that we have here. If every one of you will take that flag that you have with you and stick it by your bed head, so that when you wake up tomorrow morning, the first thing you see is your country's flag. I'm going to ask you all to stand. Put your hand on your left chest. Put your flag in the air with your left hand. And just as we started this afternoon, we're going to end tonight by recommitting to our country by reciting our national pledge. Flags in the air, please. Flags in the air. Let them see it. Share it live. So let Guyana see that we are here for them and we will be here with them for as long as it takes. Before we do the pledge, just repeat after me in your loudest voice. GOAR to the core! GOAR to the core! Let's do the pledge. I pledge myself to honor always the flag of Guyana and to be loyal to my country, to be obedient to the laws of Guyana, to love my fellow citizens, and to dedicate my energies toward the happiness and prosperity of Guyana. And that's what we stand for. Wave your flag, wave your flag, wave your flag. Come on, Sheriff, get us in there. Get us in there. Go to the core. Go to the core. Go to the core. Go to the core. PPP no more. PPP no more. There you go. Good night, folks. Thank you all.
Folks, and we want to thank you guys for joining. We want to thank you guys for joining our broadcast this evening. This is our final official program, our final official engagement in New York City. Some of us are going to be enjoying some much needed R&R and then returning to regular programming shortly thereafter. We are privileged to be at the Grace Christian Church in Brooklyn, New York, where we had this GOAR town hall meeting. Some very, very frank comments from Guyanese in the diaspora on this side of the Atlantic. We want to thank all persons who will have joined us again for this very, very many days of broadcasting from New York and Brooklyn in particular. We had several engagements as members of parliament in the diaspora, whether it was a luncheon with the likes of Hakeem Jeffries, whether it was engaging other stakeholders here in New York City. We had a very, very expansive time here. Still some what you would call informal meetings ahead of us, but this town hall meeting, it's the last and the official program of our sojourn here. Thank you very much. Some folks are wishing us well here, and we really want to thank all of you guys who would have supported us these many days in the diaspora. We felt the camaraderie and we felt the love of the diaspora so much over these last few days. I really want to thank all of you guys who would have joined us. We're going to get another couple of days of much needed rest and recuperation, and then we're going to join you, and then we're going to, and then we're going to join, then we're going to join you guys back again, as I said, towards regular programming. They're having a photo up here. Let me turn it this way. Things out of the way. They're having a photo up, and again, as they prepare for that, I really want to thank all of you guys who would have joined us. We really had a good time here, an empowering time, engaging the diaspora and being engaged by the diaspora. I think one of the strong points that came out of this holistic engagement process was that very strong statement coming out of the Congressman Hakeem Jeffries that Sarah Lynch has to go. And so again, folks, thanks for joining us for this In the Ring special, the GOAR Town Hall meeting. And GOAR stands for Guyanese Organizations Against Racism. And of course, that has improved so much since that time, right? So much since that time. I really want to thank you guys for joining us here in New York, Brooklyn in particular. And thank you, New Yorkers, for the hospitality. Thank you across the world for joining us. This brings down the curtain on our broadcast officially on these series of events organized by GOAR here in New York. Thanks for joining us, folks. Have a great evening and share the damn live stream. Thanks for joining us, folks.
I want to especially thank Pastor Rennie Howell.